Okay, so I just snorkeled the Pioneer 500. It took me about 2 hours, including all the vent lines. Yes, this is kind of a goofy looking snorkel, but let me talk you through what I was trying to accomplish. So I wanted 2-inch pipe all the way into the airbox to not change the flow. The factory snorkel is right here, it's very short. This snorkel's a lot longer, so you want to use as big a pipe as possible to not change the engine dynamics. So that's the first thing. So to get 2-inch pipe into here, you have to heat this boot up with a heat gun, the Harbor Freight Special down there, and then this Street 90 slid right into the boot. I was using pipes I had laying around, so this looks a little goofy, but this is just a 3-inch piece of 2-inch pipe. This is a 6-inch, and this is a 4-inch. And then I have rubber couplers between them. Rubber couplers are good because it isolates the vibrations from the pipe from this boot so it doesn't tear loose from the airbox. Of course, before I did all this, I pulled the airbox out, cleaned it thoroughly, and used ultra black on all the boots so they're nice and sealed. That's what you got to do is starting off this process. And then, yeah, so it's a Street 90, a couple pieces with some bend, a little bit of bend from the rubber couplers, a regular 90, and then this long piece in the top, there's going to be a Street 90. I don't have one right now, so that's up there temporarily. I know it's white, whatever. I wanted to make sure I could easily open my airbox to do maintenance, to check the air filter and things like that. I wanted to make sure it didn't interfere with the bed at all. So if you've seen my old P500 snorkel video, we actually came right here and up to here. And that worked out pretty well, but I wanted mine higher than that. And the pipe was near the front of the bed where it could have got hit by someone standing on the bed or something like that. So I see a lot of people go through this spot in the seat back here. There's a big void the way the seat's shaped. So I figured I would try to do that. Now, why don't I have it in the center? Because it's noisy, that's why. If you have it right here in the center, it's right between you and the person you're having a conversation with, and it's very annoying. So I wanted it up and out of the way, not inside the roof. That way it's a little quieter. Holy shit, I just noticed that. That's hilarious. So this gets it up away from my head and away from my passenger a little bit. One thing I'm concerned about is if I squeeze under a tree branch could follow the roofline, fall and catch it right here. So I might make it a little shorter to where it stops like this. So a tree branch is less likely to catch it right there, but that's where I'm at for now. That'll probably change. And then as far as mounting it, I've just got one big hose clamp up here to the bar, and it's kind of at an angle, so it's pulling it. You can kind of see the hose clamps pulling it that way. So it's pulled against the seat rest, and then it fits down here pretty good. I wanted to make sure this seat comes on and off easily. A lot of the ones I work on, that seat's a pain because they have the pipe too far over this way, and it's hitting that part of the seat. So I didn't have to trim the seat. I have good clearance with the airbox. I can still get the lid off. And yeah, it's pretty solid. Got to do some testing, obviously, but I think it's going to be good. As far as vent lines, that was super easy. Here's the rear diff. I just put a splice on that right there. So that little splice guy. We'll focus. There we go. And the rear diff and the fuel run up the roll cage right here, and they breathe right up here. This right here is the front diff. Comes all the way up here. Yeah. So all my breathers are in this one area. I like them together. That way I know if this corner's high and that corner's underwater, I'm still good to go. The most important breathers is obviously the fuel tank and your crankcase breather. So always check your crankcase breather on both ends after you do any airbox work and make sure it didn't come off. That's a great way to total a motor, is have the crankcase breather off. Eventually, I'm going to take this crankcase breather and move it into the top of the airbox. That's a mod I do a lot. That way, if you do get some water in your airbox and it shuts the motor off, there's a good chance it wouldn't have gotten your oil. So you can just unhydrolock it and continue your day without doing 10 oil changes. The way to do that is take this grommet, take this out, drill a hole up here. The only reason I didn't do it yet, I need to get a longer piece of hose before I can relocate that. But yeah, I'm gonna throw the bed on it now. This thing came with a really heavy duty flatbed. I just actually busted all those welds with the grinder because this thing was just adding way too much weight with this heavy angle iron and stuff. So I took that off. So now it's just a regular bed. I had this piece of plywood too. Yeah, but it's coming along pretty well. Did some maintenance today, changed the gear oils, changed the engine oil. I'm not gonna do the gear reduction yet. I wanna play with it the way it is. This is a 2015, so it's already geared extremely low. So I think it'll turn my 28s that came on the Can-Am very effectively, just the way it is. The other vent line is the fan. The fan vent I teed into that front differential vent, and there is no vent line for the coolant reservoir on this model. It breathes through the cap, so you might get a little water in your coolant. Doesn't really bother me. So I'm not going to snorkel that because I don't want it to overheat and drip coolant on my passengers. Of course, one thing I always say is when you run your gas line vent up high like this, you got to make sure it's not going to drip on your passenger's head. This one, if it does overflow, the gas is going to drip on the passenger. So keep an eye out for overfilling the gas tank and passengers getting gas on them. But yeah, so all the vent lines are like right here, snorkel's right here, so it's ready to go deep.